And welcome back to Cigar Time, your friendly neighborhood TV show or internet show all about premium cigars. Show about premium
The show
cigars.
shows.
That was
Yes.
quite a lag.
Huh?
That was quite a lag.
Quite a lag is right. Yeah.
Qual.
So welcome back. We haven't been here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it
Because
feels
someone
like it's
has
been a while.
been away.
World traveler, yo. You guys can't do the show without
What
me.
part
so
of
we
the
went from-
world?
Okay,
Traveling
Gulliver.
again.
That's not true.
Well, like you couldn't do it last week.
I couldn't do it last week because I had to cover Quakertown. So.
And
Can't
what
do it.
part of the world were you in?
He was
Yes,
hanging
so
out.
still
Stomach,
technically
you heard
it's
that.
North America, unfortunately.
Central America.
Is it
isn't
Central America? It's
Well,
still the same
Central
continent.
America isn't a place. There's North America and there's South America.
I was looking at it. I was kind of bummed because I'm like, I could. There's another continent I could have claimed I was on, but I can't now. Although there's a possibility I'll go to Brazil for the Eagles game.
Ah.
That would be cool.
Probably not, seeing as I'm not flying 12 hours for a 3-day weekend.
Don't keep your money in your wallet.
I never do anyway. So to answer your question, I was in Nicaragua with AJ.
Ah, cool.
Was he there?
I didn't see
The
him.
fact that you had the
I
didn't know.
I didn't see him. I was told he was there, but then I was told yesterday, no, I think he was in Miami. I'm like, well, why did you say he was here? Like,
Why wouldn't he come see you guys if you?
Did you notice a factory right next door with bright red roofs on all the buildings?
Maybe. I don't remember.
That's the McAuliffe factory.
Oh, really? Well, AJ's
Yeah,
got
we used
so
to,
many.
We used to call it the Red Roof Inn.
Oh,
Because
really?
all the roofs are red.
Well, we went to the one factory was right next to this complex that he built. It's gorgeous. It's unbelievable. I'll show you guys a video of my room was was twice the size of this room here.
Really?
Just my room. The walk-in closet was bigger than Art's office.
Wow.
It was gorgeous. And so the factory was, you just walk
Can
through.
you hold
the-
that thought a second? Let's tell people what we're smoking.
Oh, you mean we get to smoke it
We get to s-
finally?
Yes.
Before
This
I
week we
fall
said
apart.
a couple of weeks ago we were talking about we were going to smoke the Rocky Patel Dark Star, and that is what we were smoking today.
Oh man.
Not
look
to
at
be
that.
confused with OnStar.
Cracked.
Wow. Right, it's not on Star. You can't just talk into it and say something.
It's the rare
Light
Corojo of
yourself.
Rocky Patel.
Yeah.
Rob,
Paul,
quiet yourself.
Paul, you know the blend.
Yeah, it's a Honduran binder. I mean, a Honduran wrapper. I believe it's a Mexican San Andres binder.
I couldn't see. They never said on the website. It doesn't say.
And the filler is a mixture of Honduran, Nicaraguan, and Paraguayan, but it's interesting. Paraguay has not yet emerged as one of the tobacco countries, but they got some seed from Paraguay and they grew that in Honduras.
Okay.
And that's part of the filler blend also.
But on their website, that says nothing about Nicaraguan tobacco.
It's
Well,
in there
on-
anyway.
on
If
the
it's
Rocky-
a seed that came from Paraguay, that probably originally came from
Somewhere else.
somewhere
and they
else
planted
anyway.
it in Paraguay.
So
yeah.
so it's really
Honduras.
the seed itself doesn't. I mean, it's more the terroir.
It's kind of like saying, oh, this is made from Cuban seed, except
Yeah.
all of it everywhere is Cuban seed.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So
yeah,
none
it's
of
got-
them are lying
fine.
when they say it's
Well,
a
I'm
Cuban
not-
seed.
No, you're not done.
No, so basically this is a Honduran pure with a little
yeah.
bit of Nicaraguan and a Mexican binder, I believe. I can
Okay.
check.
That's all right.
So what I was saying is the one factory was right outside this complex. So we just went through a gate and walked in. And so we went to two different factories. That one and one that was in Condega. They call it the San Latano factory. Not. Oh, you know what? Here's interesting. Did you know that San Latano is a typo?
No.
Really?
It was supposed to be San Lutano, L-U-T, and they made a typo, and they just kept it.
Just kept it? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I love
Yeah.
little tidbits like that.
I
That
lo-
was a gorgeous
I love
factory,
it when
too.
you misname a cigar and stick to it.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
Beethoven.
No, that
Should have
wasn't.
been.
in
Should have been Mozart.
no,
Is that what-
no.
They spelled Mozart wrong.
Fierro Negro. Remember that cigar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super strong cigar. I wanted to name it Fierro Negro because I figured that meant black fire. Great name. Armando down at the factory laughed at me when I sent him 10,000 bands that said Fierro Negro on it because, he told me, Fierro is fire in Italian. In Spanish, black fire would be Fuego Negro, which didn't sound nearly as nice as Fierro Negro.
So what's Fierro in Spanish?
Well, that was the thing. So he said
too
Fierro is
car.
fire in Italian, but fortunately for me, Fierro Negro is actually an expression in Spanish.
Uh-oh.
It means angry black man.
Huh.
Literally. But no one ever questioned the name of the cigar.
But nobody knew.
Right.
The only person who pursued that with interest was a guy who worked in my warehouse. He was a 6'8", gigantic black fellow who wanted to know why all the boxes said Negro on them. So I told him the whole story, and he asked me if he could use the name and logo and make apparel because he did security at hip-hop concerts, and he thought that a shirt that said Angry Black Man and Fierro Negro would be a hit, and it wound up being enough of a hit that he quit his job and started a company called Angry Black Man Apparel.
That's
Oh, gee, that's funny.
Never paid me any royalties.
Yeah, right. You should have.
I felt good that he had a better future than
Right.
working in my warehouse.
That's pretty funny, actually.
It is. All right, Scott. Tell us about your adventures in AJ Fernandez land.
I mean, it was a lot of stuff that most of us we've all seen before in the fields. I got more of the person who was giving the tour had an agricultural degree, and he had a very biological, scientific mind, and he unfortunately I don't have that kind of mind. So like he was telling me a bunch of stuff about combustion and changing the chemical and of the tobacco, and it just all escaped me. But it was neat at the time.
Did he talk about Bethune?
Yes. And he's like, "What's Bethune?" And I was
He
like,
said, "What's Bethune?"
well, he's like, "We don't." He said, "We don't. That's not really used anymore." I'm like, and then later on, when we were rolling cigars, they were using something to wet the leaf, and I was like, "That's Bethune."
What did he say?
He I don't think he was there, and I was like, "I'm not gonna throw in his face," but
Yeah.
But he said, "Oh, I said something about, we have no secrets." I go, "Really? What do you use for Bethune?" And then first he was like, and then he said he didn't really know. But some of the things that
people from the agricultural side, from the growing side, might not know that as well as people who do the processing on the tobacco.
I guess, but he's worked for AJ for 8 years, so you think he might have picked it up somewhere.
So he's got no secret except that.
I guess, yeah. And one of the cool things, they had a fermentation chamber, which is different than regular fermentation. It was for the wrapper leaves, where they had them in pilons, but they weren't relying on the pressure for the heat. And so they had a heater in the room that made it 110 degrees exactly and 95% humidity. And I had not seen that before. So in essence, this entire room, let's say twice the size of this room, was one giant pilon, which was kind of cool. And I didn't think I was going to make it more than 30 seconds in there.
Really?
110, 95% humidity.
Yeah, but it sure smells good.
Yeah, it wasn't as intense as
aging room?
as the fermentation room. It wasn't quite as intense because it wasn't as much tobacco, I guess. But I think my favorite part, aside from, for some reason, I love just driving and looking at the countryside with a cigar. And you know what? No matter where I am, I love that. That's why I drove down to North Carolina to see my buddy's store. I just love driving on a nice day with a cigar. I could do it all the time. But I think my favorite part, aside from that, was when we went to the San Lutano factory. We went down in one of the fermentation rooms, and the guy who's the charge. I guess he was the factory manager. He's a master blender, and like, he's one of the few people that AJ just says, like, he just lets them, and what was interesting is they fermented tobacco, and they didn't tell me how it was different, but they fermented tobacco different in this factory versus the other one that I was at. But so we were walking around, and they always want you to, everything. They want you to smell the tobacco. So we're smelling it, and then he would like take a piece and he'd take a clipboard and he would roll up a little fuma, which is like a cigar made out of one type of tobacco, and then we would try it. Then we try a different one, and it was kind of neat. And then he'd put like a wrapper around it, and then you taste it with a wrapper, and then he's like, take that off of there. And so we take that wrapper off and put a different one on, and so that was
So you got the
neat.
blending experience hands-on.
Yeah. Well, there was that, and we also blended our own cigar, but that was intense. There were like 24 different tobaccos that we tried, like 14 different filler tobaccos. It was like 5 Ligero, 4 Viso, and 5 Seca, and then then we put the blend together, or which 3 we wanted to work with. Then we had to try 5 different binders, and then figure out which one works with the fillers, and then a wrapper. There were 6 different wrappers, so it was like,
How did you figure that out, though? Was it just what you tasted?
At the end, I'm just like, yes. It was like, okay, what? I looked at my notes for each one, and I said, okay, like based on my notes, which do I think makes sense would go together, and then I would try it, and it would be like, oh, that's not bad, or like, we didn't. We were running out of time. It was late in the day, and the factory had already been closed.
You can't rush that process.
Yeah, so I don't know if is that how they do it, or they do it the first way I talked about, Paul, when
They usually have a list of tobaccos that would reasonably satisfy the flavor profile, and then they play within that and combine them different ways and see what works. And see what they can predict about how it's going to taste after it's rolled and aged for 6 months or a year.
Yeah, and because they have so much more experience at doing this than my 0 experience in doing it. They're already going to know, you can't put those 2 together, because they know what everything's going to, the basic characteristics of, is it spicy, is it sweet, is it mild, strong, is it slow burning, fast burning, all that kind of stuff. So I'd imagine, the way I said when we were in the fermentation room, they probably would do it more like that than sitting there with different fumas. But it was a cool experience, and then came up with our final blend. I think mine was a Connecticut wrapper, Indonesian binder, PA 41, and 2, probably a Condega and Esteli fillers.
Interesting blend.
Yeah, it was because the blend ended up being kind of so sweet and spicy,
Dominated by the PA.
Yeah, so I really wanted to back off on the wrapper. So I was torn between a Habano and Connecticut. But in the end, I thought Connecticut was better. So.
Yeah, if you wanted to extract some of the power from the PA and not have the overall cigar be too strong,
yes,
a Connecticut wrapper was a good choice.
I wanted to really balance it out.
So all the tobaccos were Nicaraguan tobacco?
No. There was Indonesian,
Honduran?
PA 41, Honduras. No, there wasn't any from Honduras.
PA
Although I thought it
was
was.
from
That was. They said, oh,
Yeah.
it's.
That's why it's PA.
Well, this is from. They said this is from Jalapa. I'm like, oh, Honduran. I get
Yamastran
and
yeah.
Jalapa mixed up. I do.
Well, they both start with J.
Exactly, but the country's touch. So what the heck,
Nothing from the Dominican?
No, they had Dominican tobacco. They had tobacco from almost everywhere,
When I had my place,
except for Honduras.
when I had my factory and farms, my absolute favorite way to spend time was to sit at a table about this size with an array of all of the tobaccos that we either grew or traded our wrapper for. So pretty much everything everywhere, all laid out with one roller and I would just say, give me this, 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 and this, and he'd roll it up, and I'd smoke it and say, all right, take out that one, put in that one, and
Yeah.
just do that until I hit the mark I wanted.
Yeah, that's what I imagine.
That would be so cool.
But it takes a lot of time.
So,
Oh,
that's
and
a fun time.
I thought I was gonna get. I thought I was gonna. Man, you're smoking a lot, and it's intense. And I was like, whoa! I thought my head was gonna start spinning, and I did. They do grow shade-grown tobacco there. You couldn't see the end of the field.
Really?
It went on forever. If I remember, I'll show you a picture later. I took a picture and a video because I just couldn't believe how far this field went, covered in shade. So yeah,
It had a baby.
had a cue.
it was pretty cool.
Not which was better, but which was more informative, the Perdomo trip or the AJ?
They were different. You know, I learned different things on each one. Because every factory or every manufacturer does things differently. So it was just different that way. I was reading. I texted Paul. I don't know if it was Sunday or Monday. Monday about.
It was Monday.
I don't know how I went down the rabbit hole of Bahike. I don't know how.
The
that's
Bahike
right.
rabbit hole.
That's right. Somebody called me and they were in they were in the DR, and they wanted to know they were buying Cuban cigars, and they wanted money. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm like, all right, first off, I'm over the phone, so I answered the first question, how much was it? And they're like, oh, they were $30 each, and I'm like, okay, that's okay.
Vaguely possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And I go, well, what cigar was it? He said, Bahike. Before he even finished it, it's fake. And he's like, well, how do you? It's fake. I was like,
there's no $30 Bahike on the planet.
when they were cheap, they were $100.
Yep.
And now they
And
go
now
for
they're
like
more.
$350. And then I was like, and the guy and I go, no, they real. I'm like, they're not. Trust me, they're not real.
not.
Anyway, I think it turns out the guy had already bought it and was asking me after the fact, so I felt bad. But I'm like, yeah,
Why?
If it's a good cigar, it's a good cigar.
He's the guy who bought it.
Just
Why would you
because.
feel bad?
Same reason you would when it was you.
I
Right?
think a dumbass bought it. It's,
Whatever.
You feel sorry for him anyway.
But so anyway, I was looking up what the Bahikis cost, and I was like, I'm curious what other stuff costs now. And then I started I was reminded about the, I was reading that in Cuba, their first fermentation is in the curing barn.
It's out at the farm, basically.
Yeah, and they just throw the tobacco in piles. I guess they don't really have.
It's not an
a
organized
pilon.
cologne. It's just a pile of tobacco.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, and they do that for 30 days, and then the reason I texted Paul is like then they take it to the factory and they ferment it for 15 days. I'm like, wait a minute, like 45 days of fermentation. That can't be. That can't be right. I mean, because most tobacco is fermented for 9 months, a year,
no wonder
year
they
and a
taste the
half.
way they do now.
Well, you know,
I was wondering, and this was
we
Cigar
were-
Aficionado.
We were talking about, Scott and I were talking about this by text. And there are two things central to their shorter fermentation period. Historically, they tend to ferment hotter, which makes the process go faster. But in the end, they also tend to roll slightly under fermented tobacco, which is why Cubans are always supposed to be aged. You know, some cigars will benefit from aging. You're really not supposed to smoke a Cuban at all until after you've aged it. And that's part of why, because it's less fermented. But 45 days doesn't fly under any set of circumstances.
Yeah, I almost wondered if it was a typo, like if they meant 15 weeks instead of 15 days or something.
Well, generally, there's a third cycle of fermentation, even in Cuba. They don't just go with that 15
They
and
can't.
30.
I mean, they can't. I don't know. Maybe.
Wouldn't that happen in the aging room? If it wasn't
Not
No.
fermentation.
No. That's completely different. So I'm reading this, and then I started, reading further, and I didn't had forgotten that one of the things that put the Bahike on the map was using the media tiempo tobacco, which is one of the things I wanted to talk about because it's not that it occurs in a specific country or a specific strain or anything. It only happens on 10% of a crop.
Yep.
And they're the top, very top leaves, and they're smaller. That's the corona of the plant, the very top, and they're smaller leaves, and they often get just mixed in with the Lajera. But there
because
are some
it is
companies.
a very strong tobacco.
Yes.
Those couple of little leaves that pop out, and it usually happens after they've cut the flower head
I was
off.
just going to ask that
Yeah.
question. Okay.
So, 10% of the time you cut the flower head off, and a few days later you have a pleasant little surprise. And there's these little leaves that are powerhouses of flavor.
What if they cut the flower off earlier, and then would the leaf get bigger? If you let the plant grow longer.
Yeah, but maybe, but the seeds might not be developed if they're keeping the seeds.
Generally, what
Well,
they
then
do is
don't keep the seeds.
they let the flower get just to the point where it's going to make seeds. Then they cut it off so they get some seed out of it. Most of the time, they'll cut the flower head before it goes to seed, because then they have more time with the flower nutrients not going to the
Right.
flower,
Right,
but going to
exactly.
the leaves.
So I think that's what Rob's question was: is if they cut it off a week earlier, would even more
Right.
nutrients go?
And yeah, would it produce and if it does produce a media
But
TMO,
a week
would it
earlier,
be
the
bigger?
flower head might not even be there. Basically, when it pops, they cut it off as soon
Okay.
as the flower head pops.
Okay.
So they can't really cut it off earlier.
I got you. Okay.
But that's kind of what that was the specialty behind the Bahiki. And then there are the only cigar I remember them discussing that uses has always used it is the Partagas Black. Uses the Media Tiempo, but they don't talk about it or market it, or they never have. It just is.
I didn't know they used it in that cigar.
I nor did I.
There is a La Gloria
Yeah.
Medio Tiempo,
Yeah.
which uses it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And Rocky Patel uses it in something, and I forget what it is.
Is it the
But the leaves
The
are
Edge
too
Corojo?
big. Somebody uses it and says it's a wrapper. And I have to question that because the leaves are too small to use as a wrapper on anything.
generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of them do get big enough because that's how they get mixed in with the Lajero.
Yeah, but you can find anything mixed in with Lajero.
Yeah.
I've told you about the creature that I found mixed in with the Lajero.
Yeah. and I mean that has to. I'm looking at pilones that have different types. I mean, the pilone is supposed to be all like Seco or all Viso, but you see the different colors. I mean, I see a different color nylon string that they use to tie them up. Like red is supposed to be for Viso and blue is supposed to be for Seca, but I'll see some in the same pile, and he's like, yeah, sometimes they just make a
happens.
mistake. Which probably happens. Like if you ever get a cigar that just like, oh, this doesn't taste right, they have to make mistakes, and when they're
Blending.
not
They're putting it
well,
together.
we're making
rolling.
the cigar,
making
yeah.
They're doing the rolling and bunching.
I mean, it's statistically impossible to not screw that up from time to time.
Especially at the big companies where they're making tens of millions of cigars.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it just has to happen.
All right, Luce, let's get our.
But that's not a terrible thing, because sometimes
Good
the mistake
accents.
might actually make it taste better.
Could be.
Luce, let's get our first impressions.
Burns nice. It's tasty. I'm picking up notes of mild notes of cinnamon and vanilla. It's a mild cigar. Tasty, but mild.
Okay, Paul.
I find it mild also. It's got an interesting tart undertone that sort of makes your tongue tingle, but not like pepper. It's citrusy. But the top flavors that I'm getting are baking spices, and particularly a graham cracker note that actually is quite good. And laying that on top of citrus, I think works really well.
I think it's more medium. I wouldn't necessarily go with mild. I agree with most of what you guys are saying, but I'm also picking up kind of a cedar, a woody cedar kind of note. It's got I don't want to call it spice, but cedar note. And
Tree
this
bark.
is actually very flavorful. A lot better than I had expected when I first tried this last year in Vegas.
I
Yeah.
should point out that even though it's called a Dark Star, it's not dark
There's
at
nothing
all.
dark about it. Yeah, I don't know.
False advertising.
Yeah. I'm getting, strength-wise, I would put it at a 2. It's a mild medium.
Yeah.
They say it's a straight medium, and I read a little bit about this cigar. All the tasting notes that they wrote down, I'm getting nothing from nothing.
Well, they talk coffee, don't they?
They talk, yeah, the dark chocolate, espresso. They do say dried fruit, so maybe that's a little bit of
That's the
citrus.
tartness, yeah.
Yeah, the tartness.
I'm getting that tartness, by the way, you mentioned.
I'm definitely getting through the retrohale that graham cracker.
Big time.
Yes,
I wish I did.
it's very nice.
I'm not getting that.
Yeah, I don't get any of their tasting notes out of it at all. So,
You know, I sometimes think I've fried my sense of smell or olfactory, or I never had a very good one, because like you guys will smell the foot of the cigar. I get this. I get hay. I very rarely get anything different. And when we're in the factory smelling all these tobacco, I'm like, they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah. I don't get anything. It just all smells. For the most part, it smells the same to me.
really?
I try to
Yeah.
avoid smelling feet as much as I can.
That's right. Now, that last puff that I had through the retrohale, I got a dark chocolate
Really?
out of that puff, just that one puff. Maybe it's on the back, I'm halfway through the cigar. Would you stop that? But yeah, it's not a lot. And with along with the graham cracker, it's kind of like having a s'more.
Except there's not that big sweetness like
Yeah,
from the
right,
marshmallow.
exactly.
I don't know about you.
It's a Celeste, not a s'more.
Well, I don't know about you, but a bullet bourbon would go good with this.
Oh, I agree.
What would you drink with it?
Bullet bourbon.
Bullet?
Bullet.
Yeah, bullet.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good choice.
Yeah, I think it is a good choice if you prefer the bourbon, if you're more looking to bring out the flavor of the bourbon versus the cigar. But if you want to focus on the cigar, I think that a bourbon might overpower it.
Not bullet.
No, you want to go with a lighter
The
bourbon.
reason, yeah, it's a lighter bourbon, and it has some of the flavor characteristics of the cigar. I think they would just complement each other beautifully. Not one overpowering the other.
Okay.
I would say that one. I would say
Gentleman
Larceny, which tends to be a fairly light bourbon.
Gentleman Jack.
Gentleman Jack is always good, no matter
Yes.
what you mix it with.
I want it to be a little different this week.
Kahlua bourbon.
Kahlua bourbon.
He's showing his drinking 42.
Yeah.
Another one would be good. It's an Irish whiskey that we've talked about on the show before, Dead Rabbit. The orange and vanilla flavors would complement each other.
I can't hear
Although-
that
although-
name without thinking of Gangs of New York.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's kind of work out the name.
Shoot, what's that movie with Glenn Close?
Oh, yeah,
Glenn
Fatal
Close.
Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
That's a whole different dead rabbit. That should be called cooked rabbit
Yeah.
or boiled. Yeah, here you go.
That should be- that-
Parboiled rabbit.
That movie should have been named American Psycho.
I don't think I ever looked at Glenn Close the same way after that
It
movie.
scares me, man.
No matter what role
pulled-
she's
if
playing.
she was
there.
in an elevator next to me, I'd be put the stop, and I'm off. I'm gonna get off this elevator.
Yeah. Push the
Scared
door
me.
open button. Get me out of here.
Exactly.
Scariest woman in a movie since Play Misty for Me from Clint Eastwood, where the woman was really scary too.
Is that Sandra Lock?
No.
She was in it though, wasn't she?
No, this
No.
was before her.
Oh. All right, never mind.
For some reason, I want to say Shirley MacLaine, but it's not Shirley
It's
MacLaine.
not Shirley MacLaine.
That was
either.
Two Mules for Sister Sarah.
I forget
I
who she
remember watching that.
was.
I'm like, what the?
Maybe Vera Miles.
Maybe I forget.
Oh, could be.
But he was a radio DJ and she was a Psycho fan.
Yeah. Oh, the scariest woman ever is Kathy Bates.
Well, in misery.
Misery.
Oh,
Horrible.
I have to fix your ankle.
I heard that wasn't in the book.
The
Somebody told
hobbling?
me the hobbling, it was different in the book.
It was
Like coming.
quaint.
I shouldn't have brought it up if I don't know what the difference was, but I heard it was different.
I'm pretty sure that the way she hobbled him in the book was blocks, kind of like a vice, 2 wooden blocks with a screw, and she tightened the screw until the blocks crushed his ankle.
That would have taken too long on screen. That's why they took the
So they-
sledgehammer.
They just went, hey,
And besides, it seemed more shocking to the audience.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, my
Whack
God.
value, whack! Of course, the utter scream of pain and agony.
That was hard to watch.
yes, it was.
Still is.
I
It's
didn't-
like watching Joe Theismann.
Oh, yeah, when he broke his leg.
You know, I've seen it since,
Side.
but I was watching that game, and
think I was.
every time they showed it, I wasn't watching.
Oh, really?
Like when it first happened, I mean, he centers the ball and he goes back and blah blah blah. And I turned to talk to somebody, and then the person's reaction was like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" He's like, he was down on the ground, and they showed it, and they
The
showed the
replay
replay
and
of it, and I
turned
turned
again?
it, yeah. I still never saw. I didn't see it for years later. So what happened, man? But that was hideous. That was horrible.
Pop goes the weasel.
Yeah, that's a
Pop
shame.
went something.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Food.
No kidding. That was Lawrence Taylor, right?
Yep, Lawrence Taylor hit him.
And I think they were very good friends.
They are good friends.
Well, you know, when a guy comes along and completely cripples you, you want to make him your friend.
Yeah. Well, sure.
What was
Oh.
that called? The other quarterback who more recently broke his leg?
RG3?
Nah, not him. No.
I don't know.
He was a good quarterback, a well-known quarterback.
I don't know.
I could picture him, but I can't remember his damn name.
Ah, wait a second. His leg looks
Deformed.
deformed now.
Even though the surgery.
Yeah,
Oh,
Because of
yeah.
TV
Was it
commercial.
the Chiefs quarterback?
no.
Yeah, I think it was. The guy that played at Cal went to the Chiefs in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex
Yeah.
Smith.
Alex Smith,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
okay, yeah.
Speaking of TV commercials, how much do you like the Arnold Schwarzenegger State Farm commercials?
love it.
I think they're hysterical.
I love it.
I don't know if
Neighbor.
I've seen it.
Neighbor, like a
Neighbor.
good neighbor.
Like a good neighbor.
No, it's neighbor. No, that's what
That's
I
what I
said.
said.
Neighbor.
I said.
That's what I said, neighbor.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh,
And
dude,
it just-
that's right,
it
he
just-
didn't see the Super Bowl. He was stuck in traffic.
So it just goes on and on with them trying to get him to say neighbor, and he just keeps saying like a good neighbor, and eventually he gets pissed off, and they're saying like, burr, burr, and he's like, bah, bah.
That's funny. Get me out of this chopper.
Yeah, instead of get to the chopper, he says, get me out of this chopper.
Well, that's
Chopper.
hilarious. That's actually funny.
And the one that they aired during the Super Bowl, at the end, they add Danny DeVito to the
Yeah.
commercial. And he interrupts Schwarzenegger and says, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And Schwarzenegger says, you're such a backstabber.
Yeah,
And DeVito says,
backstabber.
no, I'm a backstabber. Great commercial.
It is. It's very funny.
Oh, by the way, I think this is going to air. This Saturday is the chili cook-off in Richboro, Colmar, and Doylestown. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how old, but it's at least like our 11th annual.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
It's
doing
been
it
running
long
for a
time.
long time.
Yeah. So, bring in your chili. You win a $100 gift card, or come in and judge chili, and you get
Belly full of
diarrhea.
chili.
Yeah.
Diarrhea. Possibly.
Mash burns.
It's always a fun time. The chili cook-off.
What are the times? Are there special?
Oh yeah, it's 1 to 3 in Richboro and Doylestown, and 3 to 5 in
Cool.
Calmer.
Colmar.
Calmer.
Okay, Arnold.
Well, it is pronounced.
Calmer.
The correct pronunciation is Calmer.
Colma.
No. Colmar. Anyway,
Is anybody getting a change up in the flavor on this?
like I said, I got that chocolate, dark chocolate No.
I haven't
Retro-
gotten
only
that,
through the retro ale.
but it's gotten creamier.
More vanilla, yeah.
I'm picking up a. Yeah.
Hmm?
Actually, I think you're right.
It is smoother.
I was gonna say I'm picking up a tiny bit of spice on the retro ale, but covered by that creaminess.
What's the price point on this?
1050, 1150, 1250.
Well, there you
Ten
go.
fifty,
Thanks, John.
1150, 1250 for.
Are you mic'd up?
Yep.
Oh, never mind. Scratch that. Cut. I didn't realize you were mic'd up.
Yeah.
How about that? That's fancy.
Almost like the
See what
the
you missed
unknown.
when you're gone?
What was it? What did we used to do?
The unknown
back in
smoker.
the
The
day?
unknown smoker.
The unknown smoker.
He's the man beneath the stands. Chris Elliott.
The definition of lack of sense of humor.
Yeah.
The unknown smoker.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Somebody commented that it's a motley crew on the screen. I said, we keep all the good-looking people off camera.
That's right.
Well, okay.
You know, we should have a call-in show now, and it's live. You could probably do that.
Yeah.
That would be cool. See if we can put that together.
Uh,
Are there any questions?
No.
Anyone asking?
Somebody mentioned it's a great cigar, and the Motley Crew comment. That's
Yeah,
it so
okay.
far.
Tell Rocky we know it's good.
Grupo de
There's a
Bozo
Rocky.
strikes again.
So what should we smoke next week so we can have them?
I would do the Leaf 10th anniversary.
Do we have any here?
Nobody has.
I don't know if we have any
I
here.
would do
I know where you
the
can get some.
Amazon. Never mind.
So bring them down here.
They'll be sold out by then. I just brought like 2 boxes in, and wow.
Yeah, I had a box in Richboro. I sold that in one
You
day.
know what other cigar I'm selling a lot of in Quakertown is the Rocky Patel 20th Edge, 20th anniversary
great
Edge.
cigar.
It's a really good cigar.
Are people just buying it, or are you recommending it?
Well, I recommended it. Now people are coming back
Back
and
to
buying
it.
it. Yeah,
That's the way it's supposed to work.
yeah.
It's one of my 2 favorite Rockies, that
Yeah.
and the ALR.
The ALR is really good too. But I also like the Edition Unica. That's
Oh, you like that cigar?
stop. And that's a Honduran Puro, and I can't. I don't.
Is it?
I gotta stop. I gotta stop saying I hate Honduran tobacco. now.
You keep mentioning Honduran cigars,
I know.
or cigars with Honduran tobacco that you like.
I know. I
They've-
gotta stop saying
They've
that.
recently picked their game up.
Yes,
so, yeah.
I would have to say that. That's correct, Moose. They stepped it up a little
Well, they
bit.
would have to. Nicaragua's kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, did you hear something about how the former president of Honduras was just arrested and extradited to the U.S. to be charged on all kinds of drug charges, trafficking?
Really?
No, I did
I
not.
did not hear that.
Yeah, apparently there was a lot of that going on in Honduras, and when that dried up, that's when they moved to Ecuador.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
Just a couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, what happened in Honduras is things got so extreme they started arresting anybody with a gang tattoo
Wow.
because the street gangs and the drug cartels were controlling so much, especially in Toulouse.
Yeah.
So they threw them all in prison and then burned the prison down. So like 300 of the top gang members died in prison in this fire,
Wow.
and that sort of took the steam out of the whole cartel operation there.
Wow. Holy crap.
Well, that's
If
what
they- if
we're
they-
getting rid of your drug problem.
Yeah. Was it wood?
Yeah, it was like a Gilligan's Island prison. Bamboo.
They probably added a little fuel to the fire somewhere.
Still, I'm like, what the heck burns in a prison? Cinder block and iron pipes?
Yeah.
The people.
Yeah, well, evidently.
300.
You know, if you get enough of them burning, it sort of self-sustains.
Can you imagine if they did that in California, Southern California, arrested everybody
The
with
fire would never
tattoos?
go out.
No, not with tattoos. I mean, arresting all those people with gang tattoos. You know, it would reduce the population.
Think of all the electricity they could generate for how long?
By burning them?
Jeez. It's getting out of hand.
It's the new lower carbon footprint
Yes,
method.
yes.
So it's Soylent Green power.
Uh-huh.
It's a cookbook.
It's people.
It's a cookbook.
The anarchist cookbook.
So let's get our final thoughts here. Moose.
I'm enjoying the cigar. I'm not a mild cigar person, but the flavors are very good. Very good. I give it a 8.5.
Okay.
Well, I guess I like it a little more. I find that the baking spice and tartness remain the primary elements all the way through, with that extra bit of creaminess, which I really like. I give it an 8.75.
Scott.
Wow. You guys are tougher than me today. I'll give it a 9. That tart citrus, I don't know if it's lemon zest, orange peel, or whatever is
Peel
coming
milk.
through. But no, I'd give this a 9. I really like this cigar.
I agree with you, Scott. I hate to do that.
You say that every time.
I know. Well, it's
Did
'cause it goes
that
fast.
and Honduran tobacco.
Well, he says it enough, he's going to say that.
I give it a 9 also, but I enjoy the retro how that graham cracker taste to it is really nice, and with the hint of it's actually more complex than I thought it was going to be.
It's a pretty complex.
It
cigar.
is. It absolutely is, and I enjoy it. Yeah, so I think it's a really good cigar. I get, like I said, I give it a 9 also. So
I'm not getting that graham cracker anywhere.
no.
But again,
Malamute.
I think my retro,
It's Malamar.
I think my retrohale is all messed up. My olfactory senses are
Are you getting a Ritz?
Defunct.
A Ritz cracker? Maybe?
almost. Yeah.
Salt,
Without the salt.
saltines.
Yes.
Everything's better when it's.
Remind everybody the event coming up Saturday again, the chili cook-off, the times at the stores. 'Cause we're getting ready to be done here.
Be done.
Be done.
It's this Saturday, 1 to 3 in Richboro and Doylestown, and then 3 to 5 in Calmer.
Just say it again, because at the time people probably didn't have a pen to write it down. Now they do.
It's not hard to remember.
Do you get?
know you forgot.
No,
Does anybody in all the years that you've been doing this, has anybody done bear chili?
Not that I
The
remember.
best chili I've ever had in my life was bear chili.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my God, is that good?
You get some white chilies, turkey, chicken. Most people go for flavor versus, because we used to have a best chili and hottest chili, but hottest was this is too easy. It's
Yeah.
just-
Just
Yeah,
dump
you
the
just
whole
throw
thing in.
enough peppers in it and
Yeah.
melt your tongue off, and that's it.
exactly.
Put 3 ghost chilies in there. And,
It's kind of like the way we look at cigars. We take flavor over power.
yeah. Yep.
Well, we do. I mean, some people don't.
Oh, they
I know
haven't
Ann was
learned.
like that.
They haven't learned yet.
Ant just wanted to. He wanted strong. Flavor didn't matter to him.
Now, do you know Big Anthony died?
Yeah, I told you that.
Ah, you know
Yeah,
that?
that was a
Oh,
shame.
that's a shame.
He was a great guy.
He was a great guy.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
What else was I going to say? I was going to say something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'll say it next week. Whatever it is.
Same time, same
So
channel.
thank you for watching. Instagram, Facebook. Thanks for watching. And I guess we'll be on YouTube tomorrow.
Probably later today.
Later today.
Later
Ah,
today. Ooh,
Very nice.
No later than
Fancy.
tomorrow.
That's quick. I'll watch it tonight.
Okay.
In the meantime, smoke often and smoke happy.
Yeah.
Smoke 'em if
Thanks,
you got 'em.
everybody. Ciao for now.
Life's
See you
too
next
cheap.
week.
Smokes short cigars.
You dumbass.
Life's too short to smoke cheap
There you
cigars.
go.